Hi.
Hello, Mindset Mary. How are you?
So good to see you. How are you, Ryder?
Likewise. Pleasure to meet you in person. Yes.
Sort of. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's as good as it's gonna get.
For now, we'll see what the path in the future leads to. I'm sure our paths will cross live one day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's an honor to be here with you. I appreciate you reaching out and making time to connect with me. And I know we share a similar mission and interest and passion in the world. So the more eyes and ears we can both speak to, I think the better for everybody it is. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
That's actually a really great way of putting it, and I absolutely feel the same way. I think I very quickly resonated with your Instagram page and your content, and you had a few months ago said something about, like, kind of like when you find your tribe,
Yeah.
and your messaging and the content that you put out certainly resonates with me very, very deeply. So yes,
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm
The
honored
feeling's
to have
mutual
you.
too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, I know that you're an accomplished author and an educator and a healer, and I know that you own CrossFit DHP. I think
Yep.
developing human performance, which is
Yep.
which is
Yep.
genius.
Thank you. Yeah,
So,
developing human potential is our name, and it's
oh,
what we do. It's okay, same thing. It's all right. But yeah, no, it's what my life is really all about, and I'm a little speechless right now. You actually done your homework. This is not my first podcast interview, and 9 times out of 10, people have no idea any of my background. So congratulations, and thank you for being professional with that. It's nice to be honored and recognized that way.
thank you, thank you. Well, to be honest with you, I personally come at it from the standpoint of, like, if I'm actually very interested in the person and I'm very, I believe in his or her mission and I want to support it, then I reach out. And like, I do take my time in trying to figure out who I want to reach out to, because our time is, our time is precious, and it's important to really be making, like, really meaningful connections that are authentic. So you are one of those people for me.
Well, thank you. I'm blessed. Thank you.
Well, I would love to kind of dive into your story and your success mindset.
Let's go.
Okay, let's do it. So, to start off, I guess I would really love to just know a little bit more about you and, how you came into your entrepreneurial journey and how you came with the title of the modern day monk.
Sure, sure. So that's multiple different stories, and I'll try to be as respectful of our time and not be overly long-winded with it. I grew up, I'm an only child of two parents, very, very loving, caring parents. We had what I would call a plastic spoon family. I was far from a silver spoon family. Most of our meals and dinners were macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. And I remember being at a personal development workshop at one point, and we were doing something similar to like a past life regression kind of thing. And we were thinking back to our old memories, and a memory came to my mind of sitting at the kitchen table in our little 20-foot wide house in Queens, Middle Village, New York, and me laughing at my mother and father that my bowl of macaroni and cheese and hot dogs was larger than either of theirs was. And it was that moment, I was, already in my mid 30s at that point, that I had recognized that that's all they had. That's all the food that they had for us. And they elected to give me the larger share so that I could grow up and be healthy and so forth. So, at the time of having that third person kind of objective experience of it, I remember laughing at my parents, be like, ha ha, I got more than you did. And the reality of it was that they chose to sacrifice and give to me, which was a beautiful, beautiful aspect of my life. My parents were always very open-minded in those regards, as far as religion and spiritual beliefs, and even just common education. Anything that I could get into, they wanted me to go in fully with. And they had me baptized as Lutheran to get their parents off their backs and make sure that if there was a fiery hell and a pearly gate, at least I was inside the gate. I may have not made it into the inner courtyard of the kingdom, but at least I was on a list and not going to the other place. And they allowed me through my youth to really explore what my beliefs were. And I realized later in life that they gave me a gift in saying that we're not going to pass our beliefs on to you. We're going to leave the floor open for you to find what your beliefs are. And I think that set me up as an adolescent, as a preteen, to start experimenting in my teens with different religions and philosophies and theories. And, being from, a lower middle class family and having some friends that were much better well off, I had some insecurities as a kid growing up, and probably some anger and aggression issues too, as I remember. And I always wanted to train martial arts. My mom was afraid to allow me to do that. And at some point I realized that, like, I was very unhappy with who I was. I was starting to turn down some bad paths. And I had a friend of mine that was training martial arts at a local dojo, and he started using me as his practice dummy, which was kind of funny. And I got the snot beat out of me for a couple of months until my mom realized this was something I was really enjoying. She went to the owner of the school, spoke to him, made sure I wasn't going to be in some kind of like violent cult or anything like that. And she got me signed up for classes. And that all ties into the monk thing, because later on down the line, this openness to explore my own spiritual purpose and beliefs, combined with studying some Asian philosophies and things and religions, eventually led me to going to stay at a temple in northern China, which was supposed to be for my 4 years of college. And I came home after a few months for my high school sweetheart, who then we broke up 8 days after. So learn your lesson there, kind of do your thing. Don't worry about other people's influence on that. That opened my eyes up to Asian studies. And I really went there because I wanted to learn what was known as the Dimak, or the death touch. I figured, how could I be a successful martial arts school owner if I don't know how to kill people? And somehow from that, I ended up going from learning the death touch to going into school for acupuncture and oriental medicine, graduating with several master's degrees at the top of the class. And then finally find this path of really wanting to help people. So when people ask me what got me started as an acupuncturist and into martial arts and then into fitness and then coaching and lifestyle and speaking, it was really born from me being poor, insecure, and wanting to kill people to feel better about myself. And now I'm a much more a lover and less the fighter nowadays. So after I graduated from my first master's degree, I studied with one of my instructors for a total of another 7 years and got ordained. I got asked to join his temple practice, his lineage in China. We took another trip down to southern China, and I got ordained and officially declared and earned a Taoist monk, a Taoist priest. So I got the robes and all the beads and all the accoutrements for that. But yeah, I'm actually a monk, and I live the modern day kind of lifestyle where we don't live in temples, and we live out with the people and spread our word publicly rather than living in our gardens of Edens. And yeah, that's what I do now. I try to help people live healthy, happy, and fulfilled lives.
That's incredible. What a journey.
Yeah, that was a short version. I'm sorry it was so long-winded, but I wanted to get all the little
No,
kind of like weavings in there so that your viewers have a good idea of like where this guy's actually coming from.
yeah. And it's amazing because sometimes the roads that we go down aren't the ones we necessarily end up on later in life, and sometimes we have to go down those roads to find the other roads.
Yes, very much true.
Oh, that's beautiful. So the modern day monk, I have a good idea of where that was birthed from. How do you utilize the teachings, the ancient teachings of what you've learned in everyday? Like, I know you're running a gym and you're coaching people.
Mhm.
How do you integrate that into modern living?
So what I found is that all my business, I have the fitness center, the gym, I have my coaching for my clients and their life and well-being. I also have my acupuncture practice, healthcare, that they're all kind of slices of the pie pointing to the center, which is people living healthy, happy, and fulfilled lives. And a couple of my favorite quotes. One is from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He says, "Science is the modern language of mysticism," right?
Mm,
That so much of the teachings that are becoming prevalent today are things that have existed in manuscripts, text, and written traditions, or spoken traditions for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And now we've kind of gone from this idea of like, oh, that's woo-woo and crazy, and that meditating and visualization stuff, that's all nonsense, to like, oh, well, this is actually what's going on with the science of your brain and the neurotransmitters and the hormones and the electromagnetic fields around you and how those communicate with the other people around you. And that my other favorite saying kind of explains it just as well too. It's Aldous Huxley says, "A science so sophisticated seems as if magic to the uninitiated." That people that don't know the background of the science kind of look at it and go like, "Oh, it's magic, it's woo-woo, it's hokum." And what I've been generously gifted through my entire life and my college careers is this ability to relate things that are complex in simple terms and give people analogies that relate to them. And in my graduate studies in the healthcare practice field, I had this unique ability to be able to speak to doctors using their nomenclature and their words, but by expressing what these more esoteric and holistic ideas were and bridging the gap between them. So what I've said that I've done now is I take ancient wisdom and modern science and blend them together. It's being able to explain both of those together to people and give them simple, bite-sized pieces of information that allow them to live healthier, happier, fulfilled lives. And what I've developed is called lifestyle healthcare, and it's based off 7 principles of optimal health, right? So we take these 7 principles and they put in order are things that we all know, right? Like most people come in, they say, "Oh, I want to get healthy, I want to lose weight, I'm going to go with diet and exercise." And like diet and exercise is great, but if your body's so stressed out that it's not absorbing the nutrients properly and spreading them around the body naturally, the body's so stressed out that it's constantly in a state of fight, flight, and freeze and never getting into rest, digest, and heal, are you actually going to be able to heal? You're going to be able to recover. You're going to be able to feel rested, to feel energized. You're going to be able to work out to your full components of capabilities. Are you going to be able to recover from those workouts? No, right? So I looked at and I started sitting down and going, okay, what is really the hierarchy to these things? What is the hierarchy of human optimization? If we were going to make somebody have optimal health, what are the steps that we need to do? And it's not diet first, it's not nutrition first. The first step of that process is finding balance within ourselves and balance within ourselves and the environment that we exist in. And the first step of that is balancing our autonomic nervous system, balancing our nerves and our hormones so we get out of this state of sympathetic innervation where nerves are going, we're trying to survive, and getting out of that survive, I guess, into that thrive state. Get out of fight, flight, and freeze and rest, digest, and heal. And it's once the body's in rest, digest, and heal that all the magic starts to happen. And you think about what most people's common health state is right now, right? Like, are most people rested? Do they get a good night's sleep? Do they feel energized? Do they have plenty of energy throughout the day? Most common complaints of people, oh, my digestion, my stomach, my gut, my microbiome, all these things that are secondary to it, immune function, cognitive dysfunction, allergies, right? All rest within the gut, right? Oh, are they resting, digesting? Are they healing? Have their injuries gone away? Have their diseases gone away? Do they get rid of a sickness really, really quick? Or do they need to be on medications for years and years and years? Right? I mean, look, and most people today, unfortunately, are spending 80 to 90% of their time reacting and responding to the world around them, which is not the healthy and it's not the optimal ratio for us. If you look at every animal around us, cats, dogs, lions, tigers, bears, they spend 80 and 90% of their time resting, digesting, and healing. Yeah. And that's where balance is. Balance isn't 50-50. Balance for us as humans, as living parts of this ecosystem world around us, is meant to be sitting in the sun, sitting in the shade, relaxing, cleaning ourselves, grooming ourselves, hanging out with our friends, not reacting and responding. And what we know through modern science now, we look at the cell phone here, and as soon as that little blinking light starts to go, you get a notification or a beep or an email, your brain lights up to the same intensity in the same areas as if a bear was trying to attack you and eat you.
Yeah.
Right. So you get all these little blinking lights all day long that are going, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. And we're expecting to live ourselves healthy, happy, fulfilled, optimal lives? Like, not at all, right? So what I've done is I've basically taken life and broken it down into 7 simple principles that, when followed, allow people to have a blissful life, a life of health, happiness, and fulfillment in what they do.
And isn't that what everybody's after?
It really is. It really is. When you root down the questions enough times, you ask people, hey, what is it that you want to do? What is it you're trying to do? What's bothering you? At the end, they always come down to, I want to be healthy and I want to be happy. And at first, they'll always say they want to be successful. But when you look at what their success really means, they don't want success. They don't want the money and the boats. They want the feelings that come from that. They want to have a filled life. They want to have freedom. They want to have love and self-worth being maximized. And one of the things that I experienced many years ago, and this is something that like really changed my outlook on life a lot. And obviously living in temples, working with monks and studying with the people I've been privileged to do so, I've met many people who I would say have reached some state of enlightenment. And in questioning them, at first I was like, do you guys ever get angry? like some shit's got to happen to you now and again, right? Like
Yeah.
something's got to happen. Bad thing. You just have like an umbrella around you, like nothing bad happens in this little bubble. And they all like laughed and giggled, and every single one of them all said like, no, like bad things happen, but we don't let it bother us as much, and I don't let it last as long. And I got this idea, and I was like, what is my idea of like, what is my definition for enlightenment? And I said, it's perpetual momentary bliss, right? And like a string of beads, right? We have a string of beads here. Each one of these beads is the moment. And in that moment, we have some time where some crap's happening, and then we have a moment of bliss. And then one goes by and we have another moment of bliss. And we want to get to the point where those spaces get tighter and tighter, that as time passes through, we have perpetual moments that we live in bliss. That from moment to moment, they all connect together and that we feel blissful. And I was like, well, what is bliss? I was like, well, my body feels blissful when I have no pain. I have no ailments. I have no limitations. I feel free and happy within my own skin and body and minds. That I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I feel like I've accomplished something. So for me, enlightenment means finding perpetual momentary bliss.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I love that like, it's always nice to meet people who have really dug deep and done that inner work, right? So for me, it's like, it's hard to figure out what bliss means to you, or say for my clients, right? They're trying to achieve something, they're trying to create something, they're trying to strive for something, but they're stuck in their limiting beliefs or their self-doubt, or they don't really know where to aim or what direction to go in. And the common thread that I've found between clients is that not everybody's taking the time to step back and really dive deep into the inner work in terms of like, who am I? What is my identity? What is my belief system? What makes me happy? What is success? Not what success on Instagram, like truly, what would make me feel successful? What does that mean? And it's not just wealth. Success means many things to many different people, but if you really don't take a step back and really understand what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled, what creates your bliss, then you're constantly just trying to do things and fill a void that you don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about mindset coaching, because it really gets into your psyche.
It's a beautiful thing, and you nailed it. You actually went right into what the second principle of my system is, and that's finding alignment, right? And that's looking at our beliefs, our values, and our actions, as well as our physiology, what our body, our mind, and our breath are doing, and getting all those things to put in place, right? And you said, what do you have to do? You have to take a step back, right? You have to balance that nervous system, step back out of that reactive and responsive state, get back to a state of balance, of peace and serenity, and then try to find clarity and alignment and go, okay, like, who am I? What do I do? These stories that I'm telling myself, these narratives that I have, are they mine? Are they somebody else's? Are they true? Are they good for me? Because sometimes some narratives are true and they're good. Sometimes some narratives are true and they're not good. Sometimes they're the narratives of other people that could be good and true, or false and good. And sometimes they could be untrue and still be good.
True.
One of my biggest beliefs is human potential is nearly limitless. It is only our beliefs that limit us. Now, is human potential nearly limitless? I don't think I can ever become Mount Everest.
True.
I may believe I can be that big and that prolific, but I'm this big. No matter how big I try to get myself, I'm never going to be Mount Everest. I could be part of Mount Everest, but I don't think I will ever be all of Mount Everest. So is human potential truly limitless? No. Right? So I say human potential is nearly limitless. But that's an empowering belief. That gets me out of bed in the days where I don't feel like it. That gets me to move in the days where I don't feel like I can. that allows me to empower myself and fuel myself and give me a little bit more vibrancy, a little bit more vitality on those days where I feel like I'm a little under. And I go, hey, you know what? I can do it. Anything's possible. Find the way. But you nailed it, right? You said exactly what I believe. You have to take that step back first, find that balance. So then you're acting from a place of being resourceful rather than reactive, and be like, okay, well, what I have here, what can I do? What are my beliefs? What is my identity? What things do I value? And there's so many people, I know that you can probably have it all the time too. I ask people like, cool, so like, what makes you happy in life? I don't know.
I'll
Like,
tell you what
what
doesn't make me happy.
I'm like, cool, your homework today is go home and make a list of all the things that make you happy, because on those days where you're feeling unhappy, guess what you need to do? That needs to be the dollar menu you go to, not the one at McDonald's and Taco Bell. Go to the dollar menu of what makes me happy and pick one thing and just go do it. And all of a sudden, like, oh, I feel so much better. I did something to make me happy today, which then allows you to have more resources and resourcefulness for those people around you. Because chances are people that we talk to on a regular basis, I call it mother syndrome. They spend so much time giving of themselves that there's nothing else left to give. And the people that deserve the best of them are stuck with what's left in the rest of them. And if these are the people that really, truly care about you and you care about them, your husband, your wife, your children, your coworkers, your employee, your boss, whatever portion of your life it is, these are the people that rely upon you. That they deserve to have the best version of you in their lives. But you come home tired and broken and only give them the rest of you after everybody else has taken all the good stuff. To me, that leaves a big gap in being able to be fulfilled and happy in the other areas of our lives. And we need to be able to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, that we're being self first, not selfish.
Exactly. And how much of that do you think is a result of feeling unworthy to put yourself
100%, 100%, 100%. In my book that's coming out soon, I think in the next couple of weeks, it should be in mid-August, I think, release date. I actually went through the final copy and proofed it today. The Ancient Art of Living Well, 7 Principles of Health, Happiness, and Fulfillment. I go into what I call love and self-worth centered lifestyle, right? And we know that the two fears every human has at the base of everything is not being loved and not being worthwhile, which means the core crux of everything that we do in the center of this little flower system that I have is love and self-worth. And trying to figure out how to balance it from exogenous areas. Who gives you love and self-worth? And is that balanced enough by own internally, endogenous, internally created love and self-worth? Because I know a lot of people that get a lot of recognition and praise from outside sources, but then when it gets taken away, they're left hollow and their cup is empty. But if we can fill it from within and find reasons from ourselves by training our brain, by training our instincts, by training our senses to take in the information that allows us to feel pride and self-value and worth, then we fill our own cup. Then we don't need other people. Other people are still nice. That's like the sprinkles on top. It feels great, but it really needs to come from an internal place, because if somebody else takes it away, then you're left without.
Exactly. I agree. And I think that when you think about a lot of the issues that people have, ultimately, if you really dig deep, it comes from a place of lack of self-worth. You don't believe that you deserve to have this, to live this life, to have this success, to be happy. And we really need to help clients really cultivate that self-love from within themselves. That is separate from everybody around.
And it's scary, right? Because every child is born full of love. You don't see a baby that is not beaming with love, with curiosity, with excitement, right? Like they see everything the first time. They look like, ooh, a ceiling, a wall, ooh, right? Like whatever it is, like, I love it. It's amazing. I just want to play. Even when they poop, they're like, I pooped. Wow, I'm happy again. Like they're even happy they pooped, like, and like at some point, it all disappears. And our spirits get blocked. And the Taoist traditions have this really beautiful analogy where we look at the body as being a kingdom, just like the world is around us. That the hair is like the trees, and our blood vessels are like rivers, our bones are mountains. Like we are a planet of our own. There's an internal kingdom for your organs, there's a middle kingdom of your body, and then there's the external kingdom, which is the world that we interact with every day. And inside the internal kingdom, where the organs are, you have the heart that's represented as the sun. You have the lungs, which are clouds, the kidneys and the waterways as being oceans. And there's these plains with trees on it and mountainsides with mist that moves through it. And each of it relates to different organs and functions of the body. And we all work up to this point in the practice of the lineage to try to purify our spirits, to find out who we truly are, to find what we call the Jungren, or the true version of yourself. And part of this process is going up to the sun and clearing out the sun, right? And the sun, as we look at it, on the Western context, you have your heart, and around your heart is something called the pericardium. It's a protective sheath around it. It's like a leather sac that goes around it. Peri meaning skin, cardium heart. It's a skin around your heart. And we look at the sun, and if you watch a child draw a picture of the sun, what does it look like? It's always a circle and has some variation of lines that come out of it. And in fact, if you look at the sun at most days, you see like that bright ball of fire, and then there's like the streaks of lines that come out that kind of like blind you a little bit. And what we look at that as is, in the Taoist thought process and in Chinese medicine, the heart houses two different spirits, emotions, and feelings within us. One is the Xin, the Xin, and that is the mind. Those are things that we've learned, what society has told us is appropriate to do, and what we should believe. And then we also have the Shen, S-H-E-N, which is the spirit, which is our natural state. It's a little wild, it's a little more chaotic, it's a little more animalistic. But it knows internally. It's like saying, hey, get out of your head and get back down to your heart. Your heart knows who you are. It started beating well before you had a nerve in your body, right? It knows your emotions before your brain does all these amazing things that we've known spiritually that now science is starting to prove. We look and we go, okay, well, the heart itself has the Shen. The pericardium is where the Shin, the mind, is. And part of the practice of what we do is first clearing the mind, getting it clear, and then emptying the mind, and then eventually having no mind whatsoever. So that you kind of put all the societal beliefs and separate, you can detach from them and go, okay, what does my spirit actually shine out with? And the spirit, being that core of the sun, is love and joy and compassion that should shine upon all things like the sun does, without any bias. It puts sun and love and joy everywhere, on the trees, on the rocks, on the dirt, on the cows, on the mosquitoes. Everybody gets love and joy. And that's what our spirit should be doing. Our spirit just wants to radiate out constantly. It wants us to express our true selves. But what do? We listen to our parents, our teachers, our friends, the media, and they have these little worms that crawl inside our head and put this aperture on our mind that just closes it down more and more until our spirit is stuck inside and it feels beat up and deterred. It's like putting Cinderella up in the castle, or Rapunzel up in the castle, and like, cool, pull your hair up. No one's getting to you anymore. You're not allowed out.
Yeah, it's true. And it's and that's when they say, like, you really got to kind of peel back your layers. Those layers have been put on by different people and different circumstances and different experiences that you've had in your life. And what ends up happening is that, we don't even know who we are anymore, right? You wake up, that's why they call it like a midlife crisis. Like, people wake up and thinking, like, what have I been doing all my life? What am I doing with my life? Why am I not happy? Why am I not fulfilled? Why am I in this career? Why am I in this relationship? What am I doing? I've been asleep at the wheel of my life. Right?
Put on one mask because somebody wants to see you act one way, put another mask on, and another mask on, and all of a sudden we got all these layers of masks. And when we meet somebody, even our intimate partner, we're meeting 20 masks deep.
Whoa, that's powerful.
Right? And it's like you peel off one and everyone's gone through it. You're like, ooh, honeymoon phase, this is great. And 6 months later, you're like, you peel off one mask and now like you're farting next to your partner, and they're like, oh my God, you farted? I didn't know you did that. Ew. Like another mask comes off and another mask. And eventually at some point you might even go like, I don't like this person.
Oh yeah.
Because you had a false representation of who they were, what they believed, how they acted, what they valued.
Yeah, you met the representative. You didn't meet them. Yeah.
Like you met their representative. This is my envoy, Ryder.
Everybody shows up to dates as their representative. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time to really get to know someone. And I think what's difficult is when you start to change and evolve and maybe peel back your masks and the other person perhaps doesn't, then you start to see that, oh, there's a bit of a mismatch, right? Because I think like relationships thrive when two people are growing and evolving to get separate, but also together.
And it's in those times, I think, where they're given to us, right? Those opportunities are gifts. Like every challenge is a gift. It's an opportunity, right? Like life happens for us. It doesn't happen to us. Only if we can find the purpose of why it's happening. And in those situations, it's simply the universe, God, spirit, your authentic self, however you want to view it, going, hey, do you really want to hold yourself accountable to this? Are you really going to be authentic to who you are? Do you want to stand for what you believe in? Or are you going to go back to your old patterns, in which case you're going to have to learn that lesson over and over again?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because the last 2 days I've really been thinking about that and thinking about how like the most like the best things that have ever happened to me have always been on the other side of making really difficult decisions that really challenged my self-identity.
Yeah.
And that's hard, but now that I'm on the other side of that, I realize what was even harder was trying to play someone who wasn't, right? Being someone who I wasn't, and just being a character in a movie.
Yeah. Oh, I think we froze a little bit. Mary, are you there? Mary, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you
There
hear
you
me?
are.
Ah, okay.
Her
Okay.
character in the movie, and it kind of stopped like this. It's pretty cute.
Oh gosh, it's saying that my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, hopefully it'll pull us through. But yeah, like I was thinking like, yeah, it was hard, that period, that transition where you are unbecoming all the things that you thought you were or what people made you to be. That was painful. That was difficult. But as I look back on that journey, I think, but how did I stay like that for so long?
So
What?
burdensome. You don't
Yeah.
understand. It's like cutting your hair, right? I used to have dreadlocks way down here, and they were big and thick and heavy. And I didn't realize how heavy they were until I cut them off, and I was like, "Whoa, my head is so light again." Like it's when that straw that gets added on, straw behind straw, the burden on your back, you don't recognize it little by little. Little by little, it's unnoticeable. It's unnoticeable until that one straw that gets put on the back that breaks your back. Right? It's all working up towards that threshold. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about thresholds and talking about how you can heat an ice cube from 20 degrees to 22 to 24 to 26 to 28 to 29 to 30 to 31. And it's not until it gets to 32 degrees that it starts to melt.
Yeah.
Same thing for boiling water, right? You can get that water to 99 degrees and you can keep it there forever.
Nothing
And
will
it's
happen.
not going to boil.
Correct.
It's not until you put that last little threshold in, right? When you go from 0 to 99, a lot of work's being done, but it's not until that last bit of effort kind of puts you through that now, boom, the water starts to boil or the ice starts to melt or the ice starts to freeze, either way, right? Like it's all about breaking through that threshold. And like they say, change happens in an instant. It may take years of getting to the point when that change happens, but when that change does happen, it's like, I am changed, I am done, this is not happening anymore.
It's like flipping the switch, right? Like,
so let me ask you a question, because
yeah,
it's come on a couple of times now. When you or yourself, you see clients start to live in their authenticity, being their true self, maybe it might be standing up for their beliefs, speaking up for themselves, holding boundaries and saying, no, I'm not doing this, or I won't allow you to speak that way in my life. How is their experience with the people around them in your experience? Right, the society they live in, how does that react to them being like, oh, cool, like I'm now this new person? Everyone else like, but that's not the person that I agreed to be with earlier. That's the person I signed up to hang out with. Now you're different. You're a dick for changing. It's like, well, no, I'm actually true to myself now. What's your experience navigating that change and infrastructure, I guess we can call it?
You know what? I haven't really I haven't really coached people who have gone through that type of transformation. I've been mostly coaching people who are just beginning to understand what it is that they want and understand their mindset and how their thinking affects their
Mhm.
actions and decisions.
Sure.
So, but I can speak like from my own experience because I personally have gone through that type of a transformation. And what I realized was that you really begin to identify like the people who are going to love you and support you regardless of how you grow and evolve. And you get to discover the people who will slowly step away from you. And I think for the longest time, I really struggled because I think that I'm very much like a people pleaser. Like I want to keep everybody happy. I tend to fly under the radar in the sense that like I don't like to, I don't like to create ripples in the water. Like I want everybody to be happy, healthy, thriving. And I don't want to be the result of someone else's, pain or
Mhm.
discomfort.
Yeah.
And what I realized was because I was evolving, because I was changing, I think that it was creating like a mirror effect on other people, right? Like people
Mhm.
were not really, um, I had to really learn that it's not about me, it's really about their own sense of self and their own insecurities. And that was hard because it felt like it was targeted. Like, wow, you don't like me anymore, like, wow, what have I been doing in the last 15, 20 years? Cultivating a friendship that really wasn't like it was a conditional friendship. Like I'll be your friend so long as we're equals or I'm better. But if I see you rising, I can't support that. And I think that you have to really take a step back and exercise deep, deep, deep empathy for someone. Like if I am radiating love and I want to see people succeed, even if they succeed beyond me, I want to see that happen. And if I don't want to see that happen, it's not because of them. It's because there's something inside of me that's missing, that's lacking,
Mhm.
that needs some
Mhm.
attention.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I had to really take that in and understand that and then use it not just on my clients, but on myself,
We're
right?
our first client, right?
We're our first. Oh, yes. Oh, 100% yes. And to be able to take those teachings and implement them in ways that truly empower us and cultivate deep, deep, deeper love for that person that stepped away, love them more because they need that love.
Yeah. Right. We communicate in two languages, right? Cheers of joy and tears of pain.
Yeah,
It's all anybody ever does. They're either like, hey, here's my joy or here's my pain.
you're
I
right.
received what was one of the, I would say probably the best compliment I've ever gotten in my life years ago. And it was from a very good friend of mine who had seen me through some good times and bad times. And there were changes in my business and my business relationships. I had checked myself into rehab, had an intervention for myself, cleaned myself up, and came out and no longer needed the approval of other people. I wasn't seeking anybody else's love. I decided I was going to live with integrity for myself and be authentic to myself. And this person observed in the distance, and there was a mutual friend of both of ours that got into a conversation with him and said, can I ask a question? You know Ryder pretty well. And he's like, yeah, I mean, like 4 or 5 years at this point, about 4 years. It's like, is he really like as happy and caring as like it seems like he pretends to be? Like, is he actually that nice? Does he care that much? And is he actually that sincere? Which, like, when he told me this story, I was like, that was like really hurtful. Like, it was super insulting that like somebody would think that it was insincere, right? But it gave me this idea too that it's so uncommon in the world to care so much for other people because everybody else is so absorbed in their own story that it's like almost like people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I've seen that pattern happen over and over again. But what he said to the person really blew my mind and it really touched me. He said, I didn't believe it at first either. So we aligned with them. He's like, yeah, like I thought he was full of shit. I was like, cool. This story's getting worse now. And he's telling me, I'm like, oh, good luck. He's like,
Being
yeah,
honest.
no. He's like, I didn't believe it either. I didn't think he could be that nice or could care that much and really be that sincere and honest about things. but I've seen him go through like really good things and really bad situations. I've seen him get dragged through the dirt, his name tarnished, his reputation ruined, his brand and his company stolen from him. I've seen him like have everything and lose everything a couple times. I've seen really bad things happen to this kid. And he stayed true the entire time. He's gotten better. He's gotten more like that each and every time. Like he's doubled and tripled down on. He's like, that's who he is.
Mhm.
And he told me, like, I emotionally even thinking about it, like, I lost it. I started crying. I gave him a big hug. I was like, what an amazing thing. But it opened my eyes up then to start watching the world around me and looking and seeing how much those masks and how inauthentic people are, how detached they are from their actual hearts and their spirits, how caught up in their minds and their thoughts they are, how strategic and analytic they're trying to be rather than being present. But every conversation is either like they're not thinking about it. It's like, hey, what's up? Good. Like that's not even the answer to the question I asked you, right? Or it's so just non-present. They're trying to figure out what the next angle is. That people lack intimacy, non-sexual intimacy, just being present, connected, eye to eye, heart to heart, moment to moment with the person. That when someone like you or someone like me comes and speaks to them, they're like, that person's got to be up to something. It's like, no, like I'm actually asking you, how are you today? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're the cashier at Whole Foods, but how's your day? You have a nice day? No? Oh, anything I can do to make it better for you? No, seriously, like,
It's
can I get you
true.
a drink? Can I buy you a muffin? Can I do something? Need a hug? Like, what can I do to make you smile? And they're like, oh, thanks for asking. That was nice. That made my day. I'm like, oh, awesome. But it saddens me that the world hurts so much that when people that have done some amount of work show up and are present and caring, that it's almost taken as dishonesty.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, because it's uncommon, Ryder. It's uncommon. You're
And it
not
shouldn't
common.
be.
And it shouldn't be. It absolutely shouldn't be. But that's what makes our mission that much more important, because we want to create more people that are more heart-centered, more connected to themselves, and more unvulnerable. Like,
I want people to live in that bliss.
yes,
I have a
exactly.
beautiful sculpture on one of my walls right before you walk into my treatment room. It's right above the doorway. And it's a sculpture of an old man face peeled back. And there's like layers being peeled back to this young infant face in the center. And it's a constant reminder. One of my teachers had said at one point, you're not just the age you are now, you're all the ages you've ever been.
Oh, that's powerful. I
That
love
inside all
that.
of us is that unbiased, joyful infant experiencing everything in the world for the first time, where it's all magic and mystery and wonder and splendor. There's the 3 and 4-year-old that just wants a hug and to feel safe. There's the 7, 8, 9-year-old that wants to feel secure. There's the 11, 12, 14-year-old that's like, I don't know what's going on in the world, right? Like, how do I make these pieces work? Everything's changing, world is crazy. That we have all of those people living inside us with all their memories, all their feelings, all their thoughts. And we can choose, like they say in NLP, it's never too late to have a good childhood. You can go back and say, all right, what can I do to look back at those past things and figure out how they served me?
What's the meaning?
What was the meaning? What was the purpose? How did it lead me to where I am now? And why am I better because of it?
Oh my gosh. I love that we're literally everything compounded. I've never thought
I,
about that, but you're right. We are all those people.
I know for myself, like there's very often where I feel like I'm just a scared boy. I just want a hug from my dad, or somebody be like, you did a good job today, kid. I'm like, oh, I did good. Yay. Right. And like, that's the feeling like when my wife comes up and she rubs the back of my head or rubs the back of my neck and gives me a squeeze. It's that love, that compassion, like I'm here with you feeling, right? Someone grabs you by the arm, hugs you, holds your hand. Right? Those are the feelings we wanted as a child, is of security, of comfort, of being worthy of love and love to ourselves, right? Like it comes back to it again.
It's true. So much of it stems from that worthiness, and that need to feel accepted and wanted and cared for. And I think a lot of people have those types of abandonment issues because no parent can give you everything. Like it takes a village. And even when it's the village, you still have needs that you didn't have met. So
What I like to think of, not often, it's not best as the external village supporting you. It's the village of all the voices inside your head and your heart. It's my village. It's the village of 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 40-year-old Ryder going, oh, you can do it. You've been through worse. You've
yeah,
gone through this before.
yeah.
You're smart enough. You're strong enough. You can do it.
You figured it out. You're here, aren't you?
Yeah, gotten this far.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need, like, that's what we always need to remind ourselves of, is that like we have been through so much and we figured it out. So what makes us think we can't figure this out?
And if we haven't, we're not the only person on the planet with our problems.
That's true.
There's literally like 12 problems everybody shares. They're not your problem. So he's like, oh, this is my problem. Now it's your problem once you identify that it's mine.
Yeah.
But everybody has these same 12 or so problems. If somebody else has solved it, are they more capable than you are? Do they have some special magic ability or an extra arm or an organ that you don't have that allows them to better handle these situations? No. What they've done is they come from it from a different place. Rather than reacting towards it, they figured out how they could be resourceful. It's never a matter of resources. We're never like, oh, I need more time or I need more money. There's plenty, there's an abundance, there's limitless resources around us. We are nothing but a small speck of dust in the infancy of the universe, right? There's so much around us. How could we think that we aren't, like there's so much resource around us. You can always ask a friend or find something else. Like it's never as minimalistic as it is, but when we're in that fight, flight, and freeze state, our bodies, our brain does one thing really well for us. It keeps us alive. That's its only job. Your brain's only job is to go, what is this? What does it mean to me? What should I do with it? And all it's ever looking for is things that will hurt and harm you. So it's always going to identify all the negative things, all the things that could be damaging, all the things that could hurt you, all the things that can take from you, give you loss, less, or never. It's going to put all those fears at the forefront of your mind, because you can live and be unhappy. You can't live and be dead.
That's true.
Right? It's the reticular activating center is always just looking out like, what else is going to cause problems in Ryder's life? And you got to recognize that and be like, cool, thank you for doing your job. I've received the message. Let's look at the things that can pleasure my life now.
It's what you do with the information.
Yeah.
And we
But
have
switch from that lack and necessity mindset to the mindset of growth and abundance.
Yeah. And you have to do it every day. Like we don't just master our mindset.
The beats that pass by. It's every one of those moments. You have to be in control of the mind. You have to be in control of the heart. They're going to try to lead you astray. Your brain is only looking for things that can hurt you.
That's right.
Your heart's going to look for the things that make you feel good and give you love. But your brain's like, oh, I can go for that, but this could happen and that could. I could ask that boy or that girl out, and I could fall in love the rest of my life, but they could reject me and it could not happen. I could look like a fool and I could stutter and I could pee my pants and and all these other crazy ideas that come to mind. You're like, oh God, I can't have any of that happen.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Like, oh, wow, I could be happy. I could be happy. Look at that. It's like happy peeing my pants. Happy peeing my pants. Oh no, I'm not gonna do it.
And that's what's nice about mindset coaching. It's like getting someone to really look at what they're thinking and say, like, what if the opposite were true? What if it actually did work? What if she actually said yes? What if, like sometimes we get so stuck in our thinking and believing our thinking that we don't even step back to say, well, what else could be true?
So back to like ancient science, ancient wisdom and modern science, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. What is action? Action is just energy in motion. What is a thought? Energy in motion in your mind, right? It's simply just electrons bouncing around. So we can exchange thoughts for actions. For every thought, there's an equal and opposite thought. In the potentiality of the quantum realm, every possibility is a possibility. So if there's a possibility that it could go bad, there's also an equal and opposite possibility that can go equally as well.
Yes, exactly.
It's basic physics. And we look at this, we go, oh, a marble rolling into another marble. Yo, that makes sense. But as soon as you start going like, oh, emotions and thoughts, people are like, no, those rules don't apply anymore. It's like, no, it's still the same physics we're working with. Energy comes in two forms, wave and particle, yin and yang, right? Yang being the wave, particle being material and yin. This is the yin yang from Taoism from thousands of years ago. They explained particle physics.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's really orienting people to really understand that, because we are not so connected with our thoughts. Like, we don't question them. We just believe them because they come from us. They're ours, right? We thought it must be true, but
They're
not
usually not
necessarily.
even ours.
Yes, they may not
More than
even be
not, they're somebody else's.
exactly put into you. And then you believe it from a very young age. And that's why I think, like, as you become an adult and you become more enlightened and start really looking into self-development and understanding growth and how you can be your best version, there's so much unlearning that has to be done to really get back to that core of self, your divine essence, your authenticity, And I have a very important question for you, which is, like, why do you think people are afraid to dive deep into getting to know themselves?
Why are people afraid?
Why do people avoid it?
Well, I think there's variance in that, right? I think some people don't know it even exists, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the movie The Matrix, it's such a great analogy for life, because there are those people that have been unplugged from the beginning, and they live in their little Eden world, and they don't have any ports and things in them. And then there's the majority of people who are batteries in the machine that keep the infrastructure running, that all live in the simulation. And then there's Neo and a few others that take the red pill, that do the work, have to unlearn everything that they believed to be true to find out what actually is true and learn to live a real life and be authentic to themselves. So many people don't know. I was one of them to begin with. When I was in my graduate program, I was lucky enough to have a friend, Tay, who gave me my first audiobook ever, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I listened to it. It was my first developmental book ever. Before that, I was like, self-help's for losers, like, And I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, coming from a plastic spoon family, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't permanent. Like, I can actually choose and have different options. Like, I did not know, prior to that moment, there was no concept in my mind of a different cause or a different choice having a different effect in how I live my lifestyle. I thought we were just lower middle class, and that's where we stayed, almost like an Indian caste system. Like, this is where you are. There's no other option. Like, that's just what you do. Those people do those things. You do your things, and that's it. And I listened to that book, and I was like, dude, like, my mind's blown. Are there more books like this? Is there more information? He's like, oh yeah, there's a lot. I was like, give it to me. Give me all of it. And he single-handedly created the monster that I become today. All day long, all I do, podcasts, audiobooks, all these things, personal development, right? So I think part of it is most people don't even know.
Yeah, I would
The
agree.
second part then is like the defense system of their beliefs and their egos, right? To admit that you don't know it all. To admit that everything you've done has been wrong or
Mm-hmm.
not the best. Right? As a principle I developed in my book called Learn Non-Failure. And it's something every human being operates by in every aspect of our life. And the theory of learn non-failure states that oops, I dropped my talking off. My lucky talking off. The theory of learn non-failure says that we go about doing tasks in the means that gives us the least amount of negative repercussions, not what is necessarily optimal or most efficient. Right? So how do we learn to walk? Your mother or father hold you up until you stop falling down. And you do one thing, you fall down. You do something else, you fall down. You do something, you lean too far back, you fall down. Lean too far forward, you fall down. Eventually you go, if I stay somewhere in this general area and do these kind of things, I don't fall down as often. And that's why if you look at people walk, some people have their toes out, some people have their toes in, some people's knees go crazy, some people limp to the side, right? Like, every single person has a different gait, but nobody was ever taught by their parents Lean forward, lift your leg up, place your heel on the floor, let your body weight roll around the outside edge until it hits the ball of your foot, 3 points of contact, swing your opposite arm forward. None of that was ever taught. Same thing goes for relationships, right? You did things and accepted things being done to you, and you went, oh, that caused this amount of pain. Let me try something different. And if that caused less pain, you went, cool, I'm going to keep doing these things. And it caused more pain, you go, I'm going to go back to the old thing. But we don't necessarily go and do what is most optimal or efficient unless you are of the mindset of a person. And Carol Dweck, growth mindset, created that concept of the person that goes, hey, there is more. I want to try more. I want to do the harder puzzle. I don't want to keep doing the same puzzle over again. And those people go out and they find mentors, coaches, teachers, right? And they go, oh, there is more. I want more. Let me learn from them. Let me take their funnel of learning, learn what mistakes they've learned to avoid, not do any of the mistakes that they have, take all their success strategies and point it in. So I think it's a matter of people being disinformed, disempowered, and disengaged, in which case we need to educate them so at least they can make an educated choice to not do the right things themselves. We need to empower them and give them the belief, hey, you can do it. You haven't tried everything. Anytime a client comes to me like, Ryder, I've tried everything. I'm like, have you ever effed a pineapple? And they go, excuse me? I'm like, yeah. Have you ever had sex with a pineapple? And they're like, no. I'm like, you haven't tried everything. And it breaks them out of that state and it gets them a whole different other state, open up to a little bit more influence, right?
They try 3 things over and over again. That's what.
You try the same 3 things over and over again. That's it, right? It's like, you can't say you've tried everything. You can't say it's genetic. You can't say it doesn't work, right? Like those are all just disempowering beliefs. We need to empower them, and then we need to engage them. We need to hold them accountable. We need to put them in peer groups of other people that engage with them so they have like minds, mastermind idea moving forward, and they no longer have the influence of the other to affect where they're going, right? Yeah. And then for the other people, it's about dealing with their ego.
Yeah.
Right? And recognizing that it's not win and loss, it's win and learn. You only fail when you give up. Right? Failure is a stepping stone towards success. That you're not going to get it right the first time. And these are all things that, you know, we ideally teach our 2, 3, 4, or 5-year-olds. But some point in school, it all gets screwed back up and they unlearn those lessons as they put those masks on, and society builds that wall around their son of what the mind should be telling the spirit how to act.
Mm-hmm. Also, society and schooling rewards the wrong things, right? Rewards being right. It doesn't reward, you know, being true to yourself and authentic and following your own spirit and what's in your heart. And like we're you know, you've got an exam, you got to get the right answers, you don't pass. Like there are so many things that happen to us that prevent us from having that internal spirit really shine through.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great answer. I love what you said, and you're right. There is a huge variance, absolutely, and it all depends on your, you know, your environment, outer and inner, and how that plays in to our ability to really do the inner work. Yeah,
I mean, and in Taoism, we learn that there are, like I said, 3 kingdoms. We have the kingdoms of our organs and our internal spirits, and then the kingdom of our body, right? Because like your thoughts and your feelings aren't necessarily how your body moves. They interact with each other, but they're not the one the same. I can think bad, but move well. So like they're not mutually exclusive or inclusive, right? They have some correlation to each other. And then there's those 2, the internal, the middle kingdom, and then the external world. And all 3 of them need to be blended, right? Because if I am internally correct and correct within my own body, but not correct within the world or the peer group that I'm in, when in Rome, do like the Romans, there's going to be conflict, right? And there's ways to absolve or mediate conflict while still being influential. Maybe you don't come and be like, you have to do it my way. It's like, hey, let me show you a better way. Or just quietly doing your way. And people are like, you know what she's doing really works.
I love it.
How did you get from here to there? How'd that happen? Oh, well, while I was being quiet, this is what I was doing. Right?
Role model, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's this saying, and you will probably know where it comes from because I don't know what the source is, but it's like, be open to everything, but attached to nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very Buddhist thought.
Buddhist. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Be open to everything, but attached to nothing. That's empowering. That's empowering. It's liberating.
And then the question right then goes like, well, what is attachment?
Yeah.
Right. And like people are like, oh, well, don't be attached to things. Well, I'm pretty attached to oxygen.
Yeah, I need it.
I'm attached to water, pretty
Yeah.
attached to food, right? Like these are things that I need. And then
Survive.
if you look at Buddhist thought process, like, well, having any needs or having any desires is a source of all discomfort and suffering, right? The absence of desire is the absence of suffering. It's the middle fold path. It's like, well, anytime I've been suffocating, I've wanted air. I'm really desirous of living. So that
Yeah.
means I'm really desirous of suffering. And I think that's not so true. I think that's one of those things that unfortunately has been mistranslated.
Yeah.
And so much of the ancient languages are dead, and now they've been retranslated as to what people's opinions or interpretations of the meanings were, not the actual authentic root of the word.
Mhm.
When they talk about having desires or having attachment, it's not so much a want or a need, it's when it rules you. When that attachment, that desire is controlling your thought process, controlling your feelings,
Mhm.
when it's the one pulling the strings.
Mhm.
I can be desirous of oxygen, but I can choose to hold my breath.
Yes.
I
It
can
is.
be desirous of chocolate, or I can choose to have the chocolate be like, eat all of me. Right? So it's a matter of saying, okay, like, it's okay to have attachment. I love my family. I will die to keep my family alive. I will go through suffering, right? That's the root of word passion. Right? I'm a big like etymologist. I love looking at the root of words because I believe that words have meanings, and words have meanings beyond just what we define them as, that the actual sounds carry vibrations in the universe that have different energy states with them, right? If you look at, like, there's been all the studies with the crystals in the water and the plants that grow, and if you say good things, they get healthy, and you say bad things, the crystals get all messed up and stuff, right? Dr. Omode, I think it was, in Japan, did those studies. That the words carry vibrations, and those vibrations actually are the meanings of what the words are.
Yeah,
Look at the,
absolutely.
if you look at the root of the word passion, it means willingness to suffer for something.
Oh,
It doesn't mean to be like totally like, oh, I'm gonna laugh at you. It's I am willing to suffer to be with you, to have this, to achieve this, to do this. I have so much passion, I can suffer through pain.
oh yes.
Right now, if you look at that, now that becomes now a kind of attachment, right? It's like, hey, I'm willing to suffer because I have a dedication to this.
Mhm.
What great things in life don't come with that?
You're
And that
right.
was one of the conflicts I had younger in my life when I first started studying Buddhism. I was an advocate Buddhist for quite some time and just couldn't fall into the groove with it because it was about letting go and giving up. It was about being capathetic and having less of things,
Mhm.
not having the five desires, not having the five senses, having everything being like neutral, vanilla, sandalwood, right? And I was like, but there's so much spice and love and vibrancy to life. I need to experience all of it. And that's what led me to Taoism. Was Taoism is much more like, our meditations aren't sit and think about nothing. We go, okay, meditate on this. What would it be to be a butterfly on the top of a mountaintop that takes flight through the clouds, getting misty droplets of dew on its wings as it flies down over the mountainside, the sun shining on it, across the water as the light reflects up from the water? What does that butterfly feel like? What does the environment feel like? What does the water feel like as it's glistening and reflecting that light up? Take that emotion, take that feeling in. And it's all about being more experienced, having more of these sensations of life, so that when you know of all the flavors, you can blend the flavors evenly. Just like
Yeah,
if you none of the flavors, you have blended the flavors evenly.
yeah,
Flip sides to the same coin of finding emptiness and fullness simultaneously. But for me, giving things up and not having a passion, not having desire, I was like, the spice of life is being in love with something,
exactly. Experiencing it.
but not allowing it to rule you.
Yeah, having control, having
Yes.
that self control, self restraint. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think sometimes we can just take a saying and take what it means to us, or how it resonates or lands on us. Like for me, it's like, be open to everything to me is like, don't close your mind. Your way is not the only way. There are other ways. Be open to different ways of experiencing things, and then attached to nothing. The more we're attached to something, the more there'll be resistance because we're not willing to change. We're not willing to look at the other side. So for me, I mean, I'm not Buddhist, but for me, it was just like, it really gave me a perspective on being open to receiving and being open to differences.
There's
That was really nice.
there's a
Yeah.
saying that relates to that process we spoke about earlier about emptying the mind and having the heart be full, that we say it translates to have an open mind and a radiant heart. Open to be able to accept that which comes in without judgment, but have a heart that's radiant enough that pushes the negativity away, but also shines love and joy onto all things. And to me, it's like a beautiful like analogy for that. Like, okay, let here be open, let it come in, let the heart do its job.
Exactly.
If something comes in insulting the heart's gonna be like, I don't want to be here. We can go that way. But our mind is like, oh no, I need to be here. It'd be rude for me to leave. Like, no, you don't make me feel good. Bye.
Yeah. And coming back home to yourself, right? Or coming back home to you, to what you want, to what resonates with you, what makes sense, what feels right to you, and not push that down and just try to push through. We spend too much of our life trying to push through everything that we're not living. We're not living.
Nope. Again, you're spending that 90% of your time in that sympathetic state. Principle 1, find balance.
Oh, I can't wait for your book to come out.
Next month.
I will be getting. Well, Ryder, what an amazing conversation that I had.
Yes.
I love your outlook on life.
Privilege of my day so far. I had a challenging start to my morning today, and this has been definitely the turnaround for me. So thank you for that gift.
Oh, well, you're right, Ryder. You're radiating. You really are, and it's all love. So if people want to know more about you and your work, where's the best place that they can find you?
So 2 best, easiest ways to contact me is Instagram at RJ Champouillon, Champouillon, or on TikTok at The Modern Day Monk.
Amazing.
Yep. And of course, modernDayMonk.net, but that's going through some massive changes with the book being republished and all the branding stuff changing there too. But modernDayMonk.net, because someone's holding .com ransom on me. And the stubborn German in me is like, I'm not paying that much for my own name.
Oh my gosh, yes, people are like that sometimes. And once your book comes out, where can they find it?
It'll be all over Amazon. We're gonna be doing like a full long month launch party for it. There'll be pre-sign up bonuses, people that come on. We'll be doing a fireside chat. So it'll be a private little Zoom meeting, fireside chat for about an hour or so, go over some teachings, techniques, and Q&A stuff. And they'll get a ebook version of the book for pre-order immediately before the actual release comes out. And then Amazon will be sending them the one right off the bat. And our goal is on the first day to go to bestseller. That's our goal. We don't settle for less than that. So
you'll get there. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's no doubt.
Buy 1 million copies. What's my credit limit? Swipe.
Oh, okay. There's a strategy. That's how people get on bestseller list. that won't be you, because people will be buying your book.
Yes, that's our intent. There's just so much good information in there. I mean, we didn't even go through a conversation about me going through my sobriety and how that change of life affected this whole thing. And that's really what put this book into motion for me, is getting to find my authentic true self, what that process was like, and how that delivered into these 7 steps. And I mean, we only went through 2 of them today, and how much information did we just share, right? So
would you be
open the book at the other 5, and you find out the last one's the best one. The last one's celebrating and enjoyment of life, living in the rewards. So,
well, would you be open to doing this again?
Absolutely.
I would love to hear that. Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to read it.
Beautiful.
I'll be even more prepared.
Well, the second book is already in work, so once the first one comes out, I'm already working on the second one. So,
oh my goodness,
we'll have plenty of work to talk about. It'd be great.
A gift that keeps on giving. I love it. Well, Ryder, thank you so much. It has been such an amazing afternoon. You have made my day 100%. It was
Thank
such
you,
a pleasure
Madeline.
chatting with you.
Pleasure's all mine, and to your viewers and anybody that has any questions, please feel free to reach out. I am always in there. I answer all my text messages and emails and all that stuff. So shoot me a message and the team will forward it to me. So
Amazing, amazing. Okay, thanks so much. Take care of
thank
yourself.
you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.